We live in an age now where in the 21st century, we've got social media all around us, Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts, internet, people got iPads, smartphones. But let's talk about Plato and the hierarchy of people in a civilization. Now, I'm going to make it simple for everyone. It's something I learned in grad school. The hierarchy of people in a civilization. Has it changed? Now, Plato said that in this hierarchy, there are workers or a labor force. There is military, the protectors, or the police. And there are philosopher kings, public officials, professors, business people, etc. Is this Plato model, is the model of Plato still relevant in the inner city communities that are predominantly of color? Dr. Cornel West, close us out.
I just want to say there's a sweet spirit in this. This is magnificent in Chicago. Something happening in Chicago. Chicago always on the cutting edge, I tell you. But no, for me, you see, certainly we can learn from Plato and the Greeks and the Egyptians and the Europeans and Asians and Africans and so forth. But in the 21st century, the first question for me is, what role does any education have for poetry and music? And Plato bans most of the poets, and he actually eliminates all flutes and only allows for lyres to be played in his Republic. And it's because he knew that when you have courageous poets who are telling the truth and who are really unleashing the energy of those below, and when you have musicians that can transform moans and groans into songs that allow people to see possibility in the face of darkness. And you see, for black people, we have to be very honest about this, that for 400 years we've lived in a system that has never, ever wanted black people to love themselves, respect themselves, educate themselves, come together, trust each other, organize, mobilize to make the world a better place. There's a whole lot of energy that has taken place in the past. There's a whole lot of energy taking place right now behind closed doors to ensure that we remain in a situation in which our schools are decrepit and the houses are decrepit and the unemployment rates are high and the self-hatred and self-violation of one another remains the norm. So that when we talk about education, we have to recognize that we're still on a battlefield. A lot of people think the war is over after Martin was shot or the civil rights movement triumphed. There's still a war going on to the degree to which there's a balance of forces, and when you look at the top, 1% of the population has 45% of the wealth, 1% of the population got 80% of all the income in the last 30 years. Working people dealing with stagnating wages when the CEOs and investment bankers and corporate elites have been making billions and billions and billions. That's called a war by other means. And education is part and parcel of that war that's taking place psychically, socially, spiritually, economically, politically. So that for me, I want to bring this to a close, but there's a sweet spirit in this place. I want to bring this to a close. It has very much to do with very basic issues. You see, for 400 years, the educational system has attempted to niggerize a great people. That's the truth. Cornel West understood it. Du Bois understood it. Garvey understood it. Malcolm understood it. Fannie Lou understood it. How do you niggerize a people? You terrorize them. You traumatize them. You stigmatize them. So you try to ensure that socially they're inscribed, economically they're marginalized, politically they're pushed to the periphery, and psychologically and spiritually they're walking around distrusting each other, disrespecting each other, devaluing each other, demeaning each other. That's the history. That's the history that our dear brother Black has been such a warrior about. That's why I had to stand. because when I think of 92 years of wrestling with the forces of niggerization, and look at him now with his power, his style,